Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with just some last-minute NFL draft rumors that could impact the Las Vegas Raiders coming up here on today's show. But I promise you this, when you get done watching today's episode, you're going to come away going, wow, that was one of the most shocking shows that I have ever seen. And I get it. There's a lot of smoke going on right now around the league, but this is definitely one of those shows that I think people are going to be like, I was really excited for the draft. I'm a little bit more nervous about how tomorrow's going to end up going down. If you want to hang out with Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're going to be going live 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be breaking down every single pick, not just for the Raiders, but in the entire draft. You will see the picks on our live stream before they are up on TV. Sometimes we are 2-3 picks ahead. If that's where you want to be, make sure you pull up here to the Raiders Report. So the way that we're going to start today's show is I'm just going to go through a whole bunch of reports, going to go through a whole bunch of rumors just because of all the different stuff that is out there right now. The number one thing, though, and probably the number one reason why you clicked on today's show, there are a lot of reports out right now that the Raiders will not draft Ashton Jeanty. Now, the question is Jeanty going to be there? But even if he is there on the board, it sounds like the Raiders aren't going to be a team that ends up going with the Boise State running back. Here is exactly what Todd McShay, somebody who is very, very well tied in with the NFL draft circles, had to say. Jacksonville is not drafting Mason Graham, and I am told the Raiders are not taking Ashton Jeanty at number 6. Yesterday, Jeanty was on a podcast, and he said that he thought the highest that he was going to be able to go was 6, and that the lowest that he was going to go, or fall to, would be the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. And after hearing what Jeanty had to say, after hearing some of the reports that were out there, I kind of was on board with that it really did sound like that Jeanty really was going to be around number 6. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. He could end up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's what Todd McShay had to say on some Raiders draft rumors. After talking with some people in the league over the weekend, I no longer expect Jeanty to be the pick at 6. Don't be surprised if the Raiders start a run on edge rushers at 6 with Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams, the most obvious fits. Many teams have Walker higher on their board, but my gut tells me Pete Carroll could bet on traits and take Williams here. So there's Todd McShay telling you that he don't think that they're going to go with Ashton Jeanty and that he could see them go with a Mykel Williams, could see them go with a Jalen Walker. Both players that I have talked about a few times. I talked about Mykel a little bit on Tuesday. I also talked a lot about Jalen Walker, and I've been one of the first people, I would say, that really started talking about the smoke around Walker. I made a video a few weeks ago about how the Raiders do really like him because he's also from the Georgia program. He's a good overall team builder, and this is going to be a team that wants guys in that locker room that are great on and off the field, provides a lot of versatility. And for Jalen Walker, I mean, this dude is a really solid player. Last season, 34 total pressures from the University of Georgia. And considering how well Brock Bowers ended up being, if you could get the defensive version of Bowers, and I'm not saying Jalen Walker is going to be as good as what Bowers is, but it's the mentality that Walker's going to be able to bring to your organization, which is why I find that both of those names that are being thrown out there to be very interesting ones. Mykel Williams is another player that I've talked about that I could see maybe being the Raiders, interested if they were to trade back. It's going to be a video that you guys see go out tomorrow. Both of these names are definitely names to keep in mind. Because another thing that I talked about on our Tuesday show was somebody told me that the Raiders are going to be looking for players that have been a part of a program and have been a part of something, special in a sense, and have gotten better in that program. Both Mykel Williams and both Jalen Walker do end up fitting that mold. Let's go to another story that's going to be pretty damn interesting here on today's show. And actually, before I get to that, how nervous are you Raider fans right now? Because I'm really flipping nervous. I tweeted it out at Mitchell Renz 365, and I want you to make this the pinned comment on today's show. So from a scale from 1 to 10, 1, you're not nervous at all about the NFL draft. 10, you're getting ready to pull your hair out. My answer is going to be coming up here in just a moment. I'm going to give this an 8 on the nervous scale because I walked into work today at Chat Sports, and I was sitting here going, I can't wait for the 2025 NFL draft because in my mind, I'm sitting here going, I think we're either going to get Ashton Jeanty, Armin Membou, Mason Graham. Any one of those 3 picks, I think, is a home run. But after you see all the news, all the rumors, all the reports that are coming out today, I don't even know if those are going to be the top 3 options for the Raiders. Let's now go to the projected top 5 picks. And what I would say right now from Vegas, from NFL insiders, the most consensus top 5 of the 2025 NFL draft, I would say looks like this. Cam Ward knows he's going to go number 1 overall. Travis Hunter, the last time that I checked, was minus 1,500 odds to go number 2. Abdul Carter went from being minus 475 to almost now minus 900 odds to be number 3. Listen to a lot of the Patriots beat reporters. Sounds like that they love Will Campbell, and the amount of smoke over the last 24 hours, especially coming from Jacksonville. You know, you can hear it from a lot of different areas out there, but there is so much smoke right now around Genty being the pick in Jacksonville at number 5, which makes me believe that this, to me, is how I could end up seeing the NFL draft going down, which, yeah, man, it makes me pretty damn nervous. Coming up next here on the show, though, let's talk about a player that the Raiders could pick at number 6, and this is another guy that I talked about on our Tuesday live show about, you know, we're starting to hear a little bit more smoke around him. If the Raiders end up going with this guy at number 6, I think it could end up shocking the world. I don't know about y'all. I think I look pretty damn good right now, and it's skies out, thighs out. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Chubby's. I flippin' love Chubby's. When I first started working down here at Chat Sports, Chubby's was one of the very, very first sponsors we ever had, and I have been hooked ever since. And with springtime here and summer right around the corner, the time to upgrade your wardrobe is now. So to sweeten the deal, for a limited time, Chubby's is giving our listeners 20% off your order with our exclusive code. Use code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Chubby's offers a variety of high-quality men's apparel, from super stretchy shorts and swim trunks in 3 short inseam lengths to pants, polos, and button-down shirts for when you need to hit up your favorite weekend brunch spot. Embrace the spirit of endless summer with Chubby's, the ultimate destination for bold, vibrant, and outrageously comfortable clothing. For a limited time, Chubby's is giving our listeners 20% off your order with our exclusive code. Use code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Now, you probably saw the shirt that I was rocking, and it's also up on screen right now. If anybody wants to wear the shirt that I have, that link, again, is going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show, chubbyshorts.com/chat. Also, the shorts, if you want to get a matching set, if you want. I love a whole bunch of the different Chubby stuff that you wear. I'm wearing this shirt right now. It is unbelievably comfortable. Like, this is the type of shirt that I'm going to take, you know, to a bachelor party, to a golf outing, to, you know, chill at the beach, to be able to sit up here at work. I mean, it is a great, great shirt. And I also love simplicity. I'm going to be real. I did not iron this. Like, this looks really, really clean. And I want you guys, one more time, whether you're getting dressed for a night out, whether you're getting dressed for a date night, hanging out, Chubby's is giving our viewers 20% off your order with our code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. That is code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Support the show. Tell them that we sent you. I would definitely appreciate it. Chubby's, keep sending us this stuff, man. I absolutely love it. Let's go to the next thing here. The Kelvin Banks Jr. hype. I don't know if you guys believe in hype trains, but choo-choo! The Kelvin Banks hype train to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick 6. It is getting louder and louder and louder, so much so that it might wake me up a little bit. Because Vic Tafur had to say, I think that the Raiders are higher on Banks than Membou. I will also admit, the fact that Tafur puts that out there makes me feel like the Raiders aren't as interested in Kelvin Banks, because Tafur also said that he thinks that the Raiders like Banks' run blocking ability more than Armin Membou, and I just feel like the Raiders are way too smart of an organization to say that, because Banks' best attributes are what he provides in the passing game and not really what he provides in the running game. Now, let me be real with you. Like, he is a really good offensive lineman. Some people view him as a guard. Some people view him as an offensive tackle, but an 86.0 overall PFF grade. You can see the pass blocking grade, the run blocking grade. It's all solid there. But when you see the smoke that's coming out over the past 24 to 48 hours, there is a part of me that wonders how much of it's smoke, how much of it is actually the Raiders being interested. Here's what I will say. When you talk about Armin Membou, there's always that question. Well, the Raiders didn't meet with him. Relationships matter to this organization. The final top 30 visit the Raiders did, Kelvin Banks Jr. Also, Pete Carroll and Steve Sarkisian go way, way, way back where Carroll worked underneath, Sarkisian worked underneath Pete Carroll from 2001 to 03. That year in 2004 where he wasn't a part of USC, he was with the Oakland Raiders in 2004, so that's going to be really important to Mark Davis. Then Sarkisian goes back in 2005 and 08 to also, again, work underneath Pete Carroll. There are a lot of different people you can look at, but I am also somebody that looks at Vegas. And the Vegas odds, listen to this, for Kelvin Banks to go in the top 10, minus 150. I do think that Banks is a player that might not be on the radar of a lot of Raiders fans. If you don't know who Kelvin Banks is come tomorrow, now's your time to go out there and start doing some homework, because if you think the Kelvin Banks hype is just smoke and mirrors, I think you need to wake up. I'm not saying it's going to be the pick. I'm not saying it's the pick that I would go with. But the Kelvin Banks top 10 hype, the Kelvin Banks to the Raiders hype, I promise you that it's real. So I want you to be the judge here. If we're sitting here on NFL Draft Night tomorrow, which we're already going to be live, and I guarantee you by the time the Raiders are on the clock, we're probably going to have close to 10 to 20,000 people watching this show live with us, and I hope that you're a part of the party. A, B, C, D, or F. If the Raiders end up drafting Kelvin Banks Jr. at 6, how would you grade it? My answer is coming up here in just a moment. I would give this a C grade because I would sit up here and I'd go, it's an average move. I love the idea of building in the trenches. I understand that this Raiders team values relationship, but I do think it's a little bit of a reach. And I also makes me wonder, what does that mean for somebody like Colt Miller? Because in my personal opinion, if you go out and you get Kelvin Banks, unless you're planning on playing him at left guard and letting Miller do his thing at left tackle, but you don't draft an offensive guard at 6. I talked to Miller over the weekend, and I'm telling you now, after what I am seeing and hearing today, I'm a lot more nervous that if the Raiders go out and they draft Kelvin Banks, they're probably going to trade away Colt Miller. At least, it's just what I think. It's not what I would do. It's just what I think would end up happening. So let's go to the next part here on today's show of some players that could potentially be traded tomorrow, day 2, essentially during the NFL draft. Now, I already broke down some of these candidates before, and you can look at an Aiden O'Connell, definitely a name to keep in mind here. A Michael Mayer, somebody who's been getting a lot of smoke around him. Colton Miller, obviously, is a name to keep in mind. Dylan Parham, and then also Tyree Wilson. Parham might be the one that's a little bit more unconventional, but hear me out here overall. Parham's been a starter for 3 years and is entering the final year of his contract. The Raiders have already re-signed Alex Kappa. They re-signed Jordan Meredith. And if you're also potentially going to add another offensive lineman, that could be bad news for Parham. And if you trade him, you save $3.7 million. Bottom line to me is this. If he started for 3 years and you don't plan on starting him this season, you might be better off just trading him. What about a guy like Michael Mayer? A lot of rumors on Mayer potentially being out the door. We know Brock Bowers is the number 1. I saw a report come out late last night, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Greg Rosenthal. Said he ranked a whole bunch of players on when he thought that they could be traded. Michael Mayer was in tier 2, according to Greg Rosenthal. For Tyree Wilson, if the Raiders are doing as much homework as what they are in Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams, and they are doing a lot of homework on some of these players, Tyree Wilson is entering now his 3rd year, and he could be on his way out if a team is willing to offer, I think, a 4th-round pick. Aiden O'Connell, I'm not going to get into this one too much just because the Raiders were interested in trading for Joe Milton. This team is expected to draft a quarterback, I have heard, as early as round 2. I have also heard that they're going to be looking for a day 3 QB, and for somebody that's got 20 games played, 17 starts, you can make an argument that AOC's trade value is at an all-time high. But let's talk about the big one here. Colton Miller does want a new contract, and if the Raiders are not planning on giving Miller a new contract extension, he will be traded. I guarantee you. I still think that he's one of the top tackles in the league, and if you're the Raiders, the trade would save you $12.3 million. You eat a little bit of money. There would be teams calling about Miller. I actually spoke to somebody right before I did today's show, and I said, what do you think Miller would go for in a trade? And they said, if the Raiders draft Kelvin Banks, you better hope for a 3rd-round pick. If all we get is a 3rd-round pick for Colton Miller, I think that we're not doing the things that we need to be able to do. Let's go to the final thing here on today's show, and this is just going to be a whole bunch of other random NFL draft, Raiders draft smoke that's just continuously being popped out there from people like Albert Breer, Jeremy Fowler, Adam Schefter, Dianna Russini, and there's just so much shit being thrown out there where if this was a wall and you were throwing stuff to stick at it, I would love to see what actually sticks and what doesn't stick, because Dianna Russini said this: the Jaguars and the Raiders have expressed interest in moving up. I am told if the player they want is available, the Raiders, led by first-time general manager John Spytek, spent substantial time doing homework on Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. But strong cases are being made in the draft room to go offensive line instead. So Dianna is saying that the Raiders could potentially trade up for somebody like Jeanty. And if you remember the show that we did on, I want to say it was Tuesday, maybe it was yesterday, my days at this point are kind of blending all together. We talked about apparently there was a team that did try to trade up or made calls, and the three players they were asking about was Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Ashton Jeanty. I don't know if I really buy into the hype of the Raiders trading up for a running back. That would surprise me a little bit, but we've already seen on this show, McShay, Raiders will not go out and they won't draft Jeanty at 6. But Diana's sitting up here telling us that the Raiders could try to trade up for Jeanty and try to go up to like number 3. Really? Kind of crazy. Other rumors coming out here of Jalen Milroe. According to Jeremy Fowler, there is real interest from the Raiders on Jalen Milroe in round 2. His upside to me is substantial, and I've said it, 3 months ago. The number one quarterback that I think is the most upside in this year's draft is Jalen Milroe, where you tell me the highest of the highest upside, it's Jalen flipping Milroe. And if you plan on having a quarterback sit behind Geno for 2 to 3 years, Milroe could be the guy who's got a lot of good relationships in college football. And I'm telling you this, the Nick Saban tree matters to Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Let's also go to another quarterback, Will Howard, getting some day 3 interest as well. A name that really wasn't mentioned by Fowler, but you just got to throw him out there, is Quinn Ewers. I would say the day 3 interest in a QB, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers are going to be the 2 people to keep in mind. And then guess what? If you want even more chaos at pick number 6, Fowler says that Mason Graham could be the pick. And because of the Michigan ties with Tom Brady, because of the Michigan ties with John Spytek, and because he does believe that Jeanty might not be available to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 5. Or to the Raiders at 6. Thinks that Jeanty could go there at number 5. I don't know if you guys are telling. A lot of different stuff happening. Before I get out of here, though, I do want to say one thing, and there's a rumor from Tony Pauline, and I've said this multiple times on the show. If you see something from Tony Pauline, chances are he's just spewing to spew. And he says that Christian Wilkins suffered a setback, and he's hearing that, because he suffered a setback, the Raiders could end up going with Mason Graham. If the Raiders go with Mason Graham, it's not because Wilkins suffered a setback. I don't believe anything that comes out of Pauline's mouth. But if Wilkins is at voluntary practice and he's out there practicing in full, doesn't really give me an inkling that Christian Wilkins is battling anything or he suffered a setback from that foot injury that he had last season. So if it comes from Tony Pauline, don't even listen to it. So in conclusion of today's show, today was nothing but chaos. And I wanted to at least give you guys a video to just hear all the different stories that are going out there. We're going to be live for the NFL draft tomorrow. I'll be real. I don't know what the Raiders are going to do at number 6. And I don't know how much is smoke, how much is just, tea leaves, how much of this smoke is actually going to take us to the fire. What I do know is we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. And I really, really hope no matter what, we come away with tomorrow's pick going, I believe in John Spytek. I believe in Pete Carroll. But as I'm standing right now, I have no idea what this Raiders team is going to do at pick number 6.